DMITRY is now going to take us into the mind of DMITRY.
Now,
tell us what we're going to be talking about in our debate section. Is this a debate we're going to be having, DMITRY?
it's kind of a debate. It's all about games versus simulations, setup versus payoff, and where you place your emphasis and where you place your importance and what that means.
And now turn the floor over to DMITRY and his board game TED Talk.
Thank you so much. Remember that it's been over 3 months since I've done one of these podcasts. So this took me the whole summer.
Is that true?
Yeah. Wow. It was in May, early May. So basically, I want to start by asking you, Matt, to consider a game as an experience where learning the rules is the setup and playing
DMITRY?
the game.
I will do this.
Thank you. Learning the rules is the setup and playing the game is the payoff.
Learning the rules setup, playing the game to payoff. I'm with you so far.
And setup and payoff are storytelling tools. They are parts of stories.
Hold on. Still with you. Go ahead.
Okay. So to illustrate what I mean by setup and payoff being arbitrary or robust, I'm going to use song lyrics. And one of the things that song lyricists, professional song lyricists know is that if you have a pair of rhyming words, the word that comes last has to be robust. And the word that comes first can be arbitrary. So for example, there is a country song that was pretty popular this summer called...
Please let him quote Lil Nas X.
It's actually some of it meaning life experience, and it goes like this. Some of it you learn the hard way, some of it you get from a page, some of it comes from heartbreak, most of it comes with age. And sure.
Is that Garth Brooks?
I forget who wrote it.
You don't even know who wrote the country song?
I forget who wrote the country song. I very apologize. It's not Garth Brooks.
You got to know when to hold them?
Garth Brooks actually doesn't write so much. People send him songs like we want people to send us songs for the podcast. Okay, so if you look at some of it you get from a page, most of it comes with age. If you look at that rhyme, it's a perfect rhyme. But most of it comes with age.
Eric Church.
Oh, there you go. Yes.
Were you just Googling like random song lyrics?
Oh, no. This is an illustration that perfectly shows.
How did you find it? How did you just find a random country song lyric? I want the behind the scenes.
I listen to country songs. I get these ideas from somewhere. So,
Eric Church.
I listen to country. So, most of it comes with age is something I call robust. It's idiomatic. You know instantly what most of it comes with age means. Some of it you get from a page is kind of arbitrary. What Eric Church really wants to say is some of it you get from books. Mm-hmm. Like if somebody asks me, DMITRY, where did you learn that whales are mammals? I'm not going to say I got it from a page. I got it out of a book. Okay. And maybe an earlier version of the lyric said some of it comes from books, most of it comes when you've lost your looks. I don't know. But obviously, Church wanted to end the rhyme with most of it comes with age. He wanted
I'm so excited to see how this relates to board games.
End robustly.
Okay.
And he started arbitrarily.
Okay.
Here's another example. Ira Gershwin.
I've heard of him, not Eric Church.
Can you sing it for me?
I'll sing anything you want.
Sure. I'm just a little lamb that's lost in the wood, or oh, how I could always be good.
I don't know the song. I don't know the melody.
Someone who'll watch over me.
I don't think that melody is springing to mind right now.
I'm just a little lamb that's lost in the wood.
And that's how you get DMITRY.
Oh, how I could always be good to one who watch over me. Sorry.
No, it's wonderful.
Apologies.
I'm waiting for you to stick the landing here.
Ira Gershwin is a genius, but he's pulling a fast one here because, oh, how I could always be good. That's robust. That's idiomatic. That's colloquial. But you don't get lost in the wood. You get lost in the woods.
Right.
Does a bear poop in the wood? No.
Never.
A bear poops in the woods. So again, you want to land, you want to finish as a professional songwriter. You want to finish with the robust. You start with the arbitrary.
Okay.
Right?
I don't know what we're talking about.
We're talking about setup and payoff.
Okay, I'm with you. Okay.
We're talking
Okay.
about rules and play.
Okay.
But I'm going to get there in stages.
I love it.
So
I believe in you. I'm on this journey.
So-
I don't know where the car is
so-
going.
there's a book by Blake Crouch that came out this year called Recursion. And Blake Crouch is a thriller writer. He wrote Wandering Pines. Recursion is his latest work. It's quite good. And in the afterword, Blake Crouch says, like, this is my magnum opus. It's a terrific book. It has some really cool ideas. And one of the reasons I recommend it and I like it is that it goes several plateaus. It scales several plateaus beyond where you expect it to lead. And there's some wonderful idea, concept payoffs at the end. But Blake Crouch is still very much a thriller writer. So at the beginning of the book, there's a little section that goes, well, to get the certain brain effect, the levels of the pineal gland hormones have to reach at least 100 milligrams per deciliter. You know that this is arbitrary. This is not a robust number. It's an arbitrary number. And the reason it's in the early section of the book, it's the setup.
Right.
For a payoff later that's going to be robust, where there's going to be a ticking down time clock and the person is going to be waiting. Can I hit the magical number 140 or else the world will end? You
Right.
know that's why it's there. You're not expecting it to be meaningful. You're not expecting it to be robust. Versus Michael Crichton, who is, in my opinion, a science fiction writer writing thrillers. And in Jurassic Park, the novel, there's a little bit very early in the book where he says that the geneticists making the dinos filled in gaps in dinosaur DNA with amphibian DNA.
Frogs, yeah.
Yeah, and you go, oh, this is something that geneticists might actually do. It's something
believable.
It's believable. It's robust. And then later in the book, you find out, well, those bits of amphibian DNA are what make dinosaurs blind to you if you stand still. Because frogs go after flies. Frogs can only see movement.
It's also what makes them able to self-replicate.
Really?
Yeah, that was the mistake they made, was that the frog genes, there's types
Oh,
of frogs
that's right.
that
That's amphibians. Yes.
Right,
not amphibians.
can reproduce on their own.
Yes. But in Jurassic Park, you have a setup that's robust.
Right.
Because it's something geneticists actually do, and a payoff that's robust.
Okay.
Because it has all these ramifications that are also very meaningful.
Okay.
Another example of that is Foundation by Isaac Asimov, where you have a very robust setup where you have psychohistorians, people who understand history and human psychology so well they can predict future events and how to game them and how to get around them. And that's a very robust, interesting setup in late 1940s when you're just defeated Hitler and are learning about Freud's theory of human psychology.
Sure.
But also in Foundation, because Isaac Asimov is a science fiction writer, you have payoffs that are robust, where for 3 books and like 8 novellas, you keep seeing surprising new ways in which psychohistory actually triumphs in the battles between
Do you
planets.
think Isaac Asimov's a genius?
Yes, I do.
What about Eric Crouch? Do you think Eric Crouch is a genius?
Eric
Eric Church. Eric Church.
Church is not as good as Ida Gershwin, but no
What
one
about
is
Blake
as good.
Crouch? I just want to. This is who Dimitri thinks is a genius.
I will reserve my opinion on Blake Crouch. He wrote a genius book, but again, for me,
We'll
he's
see.
a thriller writer writing science fiction rather than the science
Jury's
fiction.
out. Jury's in on Eric Church, though. Not a genius. Sorry, Eric.
Again, not as good as Ida Gershwin.
Try again next life.
No. I'm sure maybe with the next.
No.
Maybe
You
with
have
the next.
cast your judgment on Eric Church.
I'm not. Look. I
Not a
listen.
genius.
I listen to the song. I mean, isn't that something?
Yeah, well, it's not genius, the song.
Okay, but in general, if you are a professional writer, if you're a professional thriller writer, and you have an arbitrary component and a robust component, put the arbitrary first.
Right.
This is what Uwe Rosenberg does.
Here we
with
are.
his games,
We're
right?
in board games now.
Right.
I know this stuff.
Look, because rules are the setup. Play is the payoff.
Okay.
Rosenberg's whole thing is how do I make the gameplay robust? How do I make it satisfying? How do I make sure that there are meaningful decisions, each one of which, every decision that you make is going to lead to someone being the winner because of those decisions, not because of some arbitrary quality, not because of randomness, not because someone sneezed, but because they made the best decisions. Right? So to do that, the rules, it's okay for the rules to be a little arbitrary. Like Agricola is genius, right?
Okay, hold on. We're adding Agricola to the list of genius things.
But the rules in Agricola don't have much to do with farming. I mean, it's arbitrary to say that every time you have a family member, you have to add a room to the house. It's arbitrary to say that all of your family members are going to survive.
Yeah, it's not a simulation, sure.
It's not a simulation. You bring up simulation.
Hey.
What is a simulation? A simulation is the flip of games. In a simulation, the rules are robust. In a simulation, the rules have to reflect reality. Every rule has to be at the level of geneticists are using amphibian DNA to fill in the gaps in the dinosaur DNA. There can't be a rule about pineal gland hormone has to reach the level of 140. That's Uwe Rosenberg. In a simulation, the robustness comes first.
Right.
And then the gameplay, well, you don't go into a simulation expecting that every decision that you make is going to be meaningful. You don't go into a simulation expecting that there's only going to be one winner. You go into simulation not for entertainment or for the experience of playing it, but for the training. Because the robust rules give you reality, and in reality, they're often not clear winners.
Or a simulation can often be a way to experience a reality that you would never have access to.
That's right, training.
Yeah.
Vitalia Lacerda is very much on the simulation side of the spectrum, because the rules, for example, for Gallerist actually have much more to do with what it's like to run an art gallery, than the rules of Agricola
less
have to do.
Less abstracted, you're saying.
Yes, and they're also less calibrated. And by saying that Uwe Rosenberg's rules are arbitrary, I don't mean that they're rigged. It's not like they're trying to make one of the people win or win unfairly. They're calibrated to make sure that there is a winner. And one of the frustrations that Tom expressed with Lacerda, with Gallery specifically, is like he doesn't really know. He doesn't really like how the game really plays. He doesn't feel like all of his decisions are meaningful. He doesn't feel he can build an engine. That's because Lacerda, who is an aficionado, he is a true amateur rather than a professional game designer.
Yes.
Or a professional thriller
As I
writer.
stated in my
That's right, exactly.
victory over Tom.
Or a professional song lyricist like Church or Gershwin.
Gerwin's the genius, Church is not.
Yes, what Lacerda does is he makes the rules robust. And there's a little bit of another level to this, because I called Crouch a thriller writer writing science fiction. There is a genre of writing where the setup is robust and the payoff can be arbitrary. It's literature. In literature, amazing setup. You're a prince of Denmark and your dad's ghost just told him that your uncle murdered him. Fantastic setup. What's the payoff? Well, almost everybody dies.
Spoilers.
Napoleon invades Russia, and there's the War of 1812, and people love each other and hate each other and go to war and have to deal with the consequences. Amazing setup. What's the payoff? Almost everyone dies. Death is what happens at the end of a lot of great literary works. It's not a surprise, because the ending of a lot of literature is arbitrary. Because, again, it's the setup that's robust. The setup is where it's important, because literature is like a simulation rather than a game. A thriller is like a game. In a thriller, it's the play that's supposed to be the entertainment. In a work of literature, it's like training for life.
Right.
So the ending is going to be arbitrary. Usually death, or like Lady Bracknell says in The Importance of Being Earnest, the good end happily and the bad unhappily. That's what literature means. Nobody's going to tell you Dante's Inferno is fantastic, but wait until you get to the payoff in Paradiso. No, because Paradiso, who cares? In literature, it's the setup that's robust. Okay, now remember how I said that in a lot of science fiction, the setup is robust and the payoff is robust, like in Michael Crichton and in Asimov?
Geniuses. Both geniuses.
Sure. What do we call it? What do we call a mathematical thing? Because games are ultimately math, right? Games are economic ways of describing reality. Simulations are economic, mathematical ways of describing reality. What do we call something where the setup and the payoff in describing reality is robust, and you have math that gets you from setup to payoff?
I don't know. Settlers of Catan.
Yeah, it's called theory.
Okay.
And when you have a robust setup and a robust payoff, that's theory. That's scientific theory. And there are economic theories that are supposed to work like that. There's certainly physics theories that absolutely work like that.
A strong premise and a strong payoff.
A strong premise, robust payoff, where nothing is arbitrary, nothing is calibrated. That's actual honest-to-goodness theory. And the way that games are entertainment and simulations are training, theories are investigation.
Right.
Because a theory can be proven to be false or proven to be true. Can't be proven, can only be disproven. But it is when both ends are robust. And I'll give you an example. So what is the one rule, one constraint in the special theory of relativity, Einstein's? Do you remember what it is?
The one constraint.
Yeah, the one rule that Einstein starts out with, the robust single rule in the rule book.
I don't know.
Yeah,
tell me.
It's the robust observation that the speed of light is constant.
Okay.
No matter what speed the observer is actually traveling at.
Sure.
Right? And from that one rule, using math, Einstein derives all sorts of robust conclusions. Robust payoffs equals MC squared, GPS, black holes, all of that is using math from that one robust rule that is confirmed endlessly through all these observations.
Right.
Here's another example of a very famous theory where starts off with 5 rules, 4 of which are robust and 1 of which is arbitrary. And that's geometry. Euclid started out with 5 axioms, like through any 2 points you can only draw a single line, blah, blah, blah. And from that, he derived all of 10th grade math, right?
Okay.
But the 5th of these was kind of arbitrary, and Euclid even knew there was kind of arbitrary. The fifth of them is very famous. It's if you have a point outside a line, through that point you can only draw one parallel line to that original line, right?
Okay.
And that's a little arbitrary. And in fact, if you take a different arbitrary version of that axiom, if you say that you cannot draw a single parallel line through that point, or if you go hog wild in the other direction, you can say you can draw infinitely many parallel lines through that point. You wind up with non-Euclidean geometry. In the first instance, you get spherical geometry. In the second instance, you get infinitely curved out geometry. But the thing is, you get legitimate geometries. When you take 4 robust rules and get a 5th arbitrary rule, and by changing it, you can still get useful mathematics. I'm going to close out this talk by pointing out that you can actually get 2 theory from games. There's something called genetic algorithms, where you basically take a bunch of arbitrary rules, arbitrary mathematical constraints, and like thousands of groups of them, and then you run them, and then you get results, and you see which results are the most robust, and then you kill off the 90% of the less robust results. You keep the 10% of the robust results, then you recombine the rules, and you run it again and again and again until you get an algorithm purely by chance through evolutionary recombination that is going to give you the most robust result. So you have robust rules, you have a robust result, and voila. And a lot of mathematical problems are actually solved that way in computers. The Santa Fe Institute of Complexity gets a lot of money from the Department of Defense to do exactly this. And watch out for economics, because economists like to say, we use models. We start out with certain rules or certain constraints, and through pure math, we get a robust payoff. Careful. They're often pulling a fast one. Are they doing a game where they're finally calibrating the rules to get a specific result? Yeah, free market, fantastic. Low interest rates, fantastic. Have they calibrated the rules? Are they running a simulation? Are they having a theory? The economic world model, that concept can apply to a game or a simulation or a theory. It's very fluid. Be very careful when you listen to economists for that reason, because are they doing this for entertainment? Are they doing this for training? Or are they actually investigating the way the world works?
So, since this is a debate, can I give my side of the debate?
Sure, of course. Please.
I think Eric Church is a genius.
Well, let me ask you this. Which lyric is better?
Oh, jeez. Eric Church. I feel like Eric
Some
Church
of it
really got done wrong here.
Some of it comes from the page. Most of it comes with age. Or some of it comes from books. Most when you've lost your looks.
All right. So in an attempt to get wring a little more board gaming information out of this, where in your estimation does the perfect balance of of the setup and the payoff take place in board games for you? And can you give me an example of a game that you feel does it the way, not necessarily perfectly, but perfect for you?
Well, I think there are 2 genres. I think there are different genres. And I think what I just said explains why you love you and I love Lacerda, and Tom and Trey love Rosenberg, because
We all love both of them, but yes, some more than others.
Sure, we prefer Lacerda. We want somebody who's going to err on the side of robust rules, and we are okay with gameplay being a simulation where not every decision you make is going to be equally meaningful, and even if you play a perfect game where every decision you make is meaningful, you may not win, simply because that's not the priority of the game designer.
There's more storytelling taking place.
It's more storytelling, and I think, again, even though both of us are storytellers, and this is where we spent a lot of our time, even when we go to games, we're not as interested in the mechanisms and in the mathematics of the play as we are in actually learning, oh, this is kind of what it's like to be a fast food person. This is kind of...
We're LARPing it.
Yes. And actually, you bring up LARPing. LARPs are an excellent example of, like, the foam swords. What are those LARPs called? Boffer LARPs are very much Ubi Rosenberg. Boffer LARPs are about having arbitrary rules. It's arbitrary rules, right? The setup is arbitrary. Are we going to roll dice? How are we going to resolve it? In order to have fun and interesting play, where you can make decisions and you can have a clear winner. And the kind of LARPs that Tom and Trey do at Gen Con, or have done at Gen Con, are more Lacerda-ish, where they want to make sure that the rules are robust, the setup is robust, because the setup is really the concept of a TV show or some kind of intellectual property they're following, like Game of Thrones or Battlestar Galactica. And then maybe the gameplay is much more fluid.
Right.
And in what Trey does at the Reagan Library, for example, in the Situation Room, is through a LARP trying to balance it, trying to make sure that the rules are robust, but just arbitrary, just calibrated enough so that the play can actually run smoothly. So if you were to ask me, where have I personally seen that balance perfected? It's by Trey at that LARP.
Right.
And every board game that I've seen it falls on one end or the other. Most of them fall on the robust the robust gameplay arbitrary rules.
Right.
Most of them are like Rosenberg, and it's fun, but it can also. Is it really difficult? Are underwater cities a really different experience from a train game? Displaying underwater cities teach me something about? No.
Other than that kelp is very important.
Sure, but and it is so important. It's where we get a lot of our oxygen, But I prefer, and you prefer, games with more robust rules, like Terraforming Mars.
What do you think City of the Big Shoulders is?
Ultimately, so genetically, I can answer it's definitely a robust rules game.
Yeah.
Because it's made up of rules that work in Trois, that work in Le Havre, that work in 18XX, that work in Agricola. And the joy of playing the game is, this is applied to an historical situation. But you can tell that the robustness comes from the rules.
Right.
It's not like Raymond Chandler III said, oh, well, Quaker Oats actually used this strategy. I mean, he did, but that wasn't his primary concern. I think I can conclude that I can't read his mind, but playing the game, looking at the game, I think this falls into the Uwe Rosenberg camp. And by the way, most games fall into Uwe Rosenberg's camp. Because remember, I started out this discussion by saying that a professional lyric writer is going to put the robust rhyme last and the arbitrary first. And a professional thriller writer is going to put the arbitrary rule first and the robust payoff last.
Right.
It's the amateur who writes literature. It's the amateur like Lacerda who is going to make a simulation.
Yeah.
And it's the genius like Einstein or Euclid who's going to make a theory, or Asimov or Crichton.
Church.
Or church. Well, again, you don't get things from the page. I'm getting this from the notes on my phone. But what you want, what everybody wants, right, is a robust payoff and a robust setup. What everybody wants is a theory. What everybody wants is the truth, right?
Right.
When you can get the poetic or the game thing equivalent of like, let's have a rule book with one rule, and then it plays magnificently. That would be the game equivalent of Einstein's theory of relativity, of course.
Okay.
And of course, you need math.
Right.
You know.
Well,
I hope this makes sense.
I think it does, and I am excited for people to hear it, and I love your brain, and I love the wonderful creature that you are, and for presenting us this very original thing that only you could bring.
I also brought a list of 30 games that only I remember how to play, and I'm going to discuss them for 3 hours right now.
Yeah.
Let's make a cut.
Let's go.
Okay, we're back. Matt.
Thank you, Dimitri.